There are millions of inhabited worlds in the universe. Some shine at the centers of galaxies, while others remain hidden in the darkest corners of space. But there was one planet whose existence was known to only a few. Its name was Arcadia, a world of blue oceans, silver forests, and 3 moons. Arcadia was famous not for its wealth or technology, but for something far more extraordinary. Its people possessed an ancient gift, the ability to feel the energy of the universe itself. But one night, everything changed. Hundreds of lights suddenly appeared in the sky. Gigantic black ships broke through the atmosphere. The invasion had begun. The people of Arcadia tried to fight back, but the enemy was far too powerful. Amid the chaos, a young woman ran through a burning city, clutching a small boy tightly against her chest. He was only 5 years old. His name was Jack. Explosions echoed behind them. The air was filled with smoke and screams. The woman stopped beside a small spacecraft. Tears filled her eyes. "I'm sorry, my son," she whispered, "but you must survive." She placed a strange metallic medallion around his neck. It bore the symbol of 3 stars. "Never take it off." The boy didn't understand. He simply cried and called for his mother. But a second later, the hatch closed. The engines roared to life. The shuttle shot into the sky. The last thing Jack saw through the window was the burning cities of his home world. Then everything disappeared. Jack awoke several days later aboard a massive star cruiser. He found himself surrounded by space pirates. Their captain, a hardened man named Rex Vaylor, had discovered the damaged shuttle drifting through an asteroid field. No one knew where the child had come from, and Jack himself remembered almost nothing. Only his mother's face, and the strange medallion hanging from his neck. Years passed. The pirates became his family. They taught him how to pilot starships, use weapons, and survive in the most dangerous corners of the galaxy. But Jack never truly felt like one of them. He was haunted by the same dream night after night. 3 moons, silver forests, and a distant voice calling to him, "Come home." When Jack turned 28, his life changed once again. During a routine mission, his crew discovered an ancient abandoned satellite. It was thousands of years old. While the others searched for valuable technology, Jack accidentally pressed his medallion against one of the station's control panels. Instantly, the entire system came to life. The screen illuminated. A recording appeared. A woman stood before him, his mother. Jack froze. He could barely breathe. "If you are seeing this message," she said, "then I was unable to save our world." Her voice was calm, but her eyes carried immense sorrow. "Jack, you are the heir of Arcadia, the last descendant of the royal line of the Guardians." His hands trembled. "The Shadow Empire destroyed our planet. They were searching for an ancient source of power hidden beneath Arcadia." A star map appeared behind her. One location began flashing red. "If you ever wish to learn the truth, find the star beacon." The recording ended. Silence filled the room. For the first time in his life, Jack learned who he truly was, and he realized that everything he believed about himself had been a lie. A week later, Jack left the pirate crew. Rex tried to stop him. "You're chasing ghosts from the past." "Maybe," Jack replied, "but I have to know the truth." He boarded his ship and set a course for the star beacon. The journey lasted for months. He crossed deadly nebulae, evaded Shadow Empire patrols, and explored long-forgotten worlds. Finally, he reached his destination. The star beacon was not a simple station. It was an ancient structure the size of a city. The massive fortress drifted beside a dying star. As Jack entered, dormant systems suddenly activated. Lights illuminated the endless corridors. A mechanical voice echoed through the station. Genetic identity confirmed. "Welcome home, Guardian." A gigantic door slowly opened before him. Beyond it lay an enormous chamber filled with hundreds of glowing crystals. At the center floated a sphere made of pure energy. It pulsed like a living heart. This was what the Empire had been searching for all along. The source, an ancient power capable of manipulating space and time itself. Suddenly, warning sirens erupted throughout the station. Red lights flashed across the walls. Jack rushed to the observation deck. His blood ran cold. A fleet of warships had appeared in orbit. The Shadow Empire had found him. Leading the fleet was Supreme Admiral Morgoth, the man responsible for the destruction of Arcadia. Jack recognized his face from the station's archives. A transmission appeared on the screen. Morgoth stared directly at him. "Hand over the source," he said calmly, "and I will spare your life." Jack's eyes narrowed. "You destroyed my home. It was necessary." "No," Jack answered. "It was greed." Morgoth's expression hardened. "Then you leave me no choice." He gave the order. "Open fire." The battle began. One station against an entire fleet. Energy cannons roared. The darkness of space exploded with flashes of light. At first, it seemed hopeless. But the star beacon revealed its true purpose. It was not merely a station. It was an ancient fortress. Thousands of hidden weapons awakened simultaneously. Massive beams of energy tore through enemy cruisers. Explosions lit up the void. One Imperial ship after another was destroyed. Yet the Empire continued advancing. Its fleet seemed endless. The station was slowly being overwhelmed. Jack knew they could not hold out forever. Then he looked back at the source. The glowing sphere pulsed as if calling to him, as though it had been waiting for this moment for centuries. Slowly, he walked toward it, and placed his hand upon its surface. The universe vanished. Stars surrounded him, billions of them. Entire galaxies stretched before his eyes. He could feel every world, every living being, every pulse of energy flowing through the cosmos. Time itself seemed to stop. A voice echoed from everywhere at once. "You are the last guardian. You are the heir of Arcadia. You have finally returned." The source was alive, not alive in the way humans understood life, but conscious, ancient, wise, older than civilizations, older than empires, older perhaps than the galaxy itself. Memories flooded Jack's mind. He saw the history of Arcadia. He saw generations of guardians protecting the source. He saw the Shadow Empire discovering rumors of its existence. And finally, he saw his mother's sacrifice. She had not abandoned him. She had saved him. Tears filled his eyes. For the first time in 23 years, he understood everything. When Jack opened his eyes, everything had changed. Blue light radiated from his body. Streams of energy flowed across his skin like living rivers of starlight. He could feel the star beacon around him. Every corridor, every weapon, every system. It was as if the station itself had become an extension of his mind. Far beyond the walls, he could sense the Imperial fleet. Every ship, every engine, every heartbeat aboard them. Jack was no longer an ordinary man. He had become a guardian, the last guardian of Arcadia. On the bridge of his flagship, Admiral Morgoth stared at the battlefield in disbelief. Sensors across the fleet were failing. Strange energy waves were spreading from the star beacon. "What is happening?" one officer shouted. "No idea, sir. The readings make no sense." Then the impossible happened. The dying star beside the station suddenly flared with light. Its energy began flowing toward the beacon, toward Jack. The entire fleet trembled. Space itself seemed to bend. Morgoth's face turned pale. He activated the source. For the first time in decades, fear entered the Admiral's eyes. Jack stepped onto the observation platform. The vast battlefield stretched before him. Thousands of enemy ships filled the darkness. Yet he felt no fear, only clarity, only purpose. He slowly raised his hand. The stars seemed to respond. Invisible waves rippled through space. Several Imperial cruisers suddenly lost power. Their engines shut down. Weapons went silent. They drifted helplessly through the void. The fleet opened fire. Hundreds of energy blasts raced toward the station. Jack closed his eyes, and the attacks stopped, frozen in space, motionless, as if time itself had obeyed his command. The crews aboard the Imperial ships watched in horror. No technology could do this. No weapon ever created could do this. Only the power of the Guardians. Jack opened his hand. The frozen energy blasts turned around and flew back toward the fleet. A chain of explosions erupted across the battlefield. Entire squadrons vanished in fire. "Retreat!" screamed one Imperial commander. But it was too late. The battle was already lost. The source had awakened, and its rightful heir now wielded its power. Morgoth refused to surrender. His flagship surged forward. The massive warship was larger than a city. Its main cannon began charging, a weapon powerful enough to destroy planets. "Fire!" Morgoth ordered. A colossal beam erupted from the cannon. It raced directly toward the star beacon, toward Jack. For a brief moment, the galaxy seemed to hold its breath. Then Jack raised both hands. The beam stopped, not weakened, not deflected, stopped, suspended in space like a river of frozen light. The crew of the flagship stood speechless. Even Morgoth could not believe what he was seeing. Jack looked directly at the Admiral through the observation glass. Their eyes met, one final time. "You took everything from my people," Jack said quietly, "and now your empire ends." With a single motion of his hand, the beam collapsed inward. The enormous energy of the weapon turned against itself. The flagship shook violently. Alarms screamed throughout the vessel. Reactor systems failed. Fire erupted across multiple decks. Morgoth realized the truth. He had lost. The Empire had lost. Arcadia had won. At last. But before the flagship was destroyed, Morgoth made one final move. His fingers flew across the command console. A secret transmission was sent into deep space, far beyond the known galaxy, far beyond the reach of the Empire. The message contained only 6 words. The heir of Arcadia is alive. The transmission vanished into the darkness. And moments later, Morgoth's flagship exploded. The shockwave illuminated half the battlefield. The war was over. Silence returned to space. The battlefield that had moments before been consumed by war now drifted in eerie stillness. Fragments of destroyed warships floated among the stars. The Shadow Empire's fleet was gone. The star beacon had survived, and Arcadia had finally been avenged. Jack stood alone before the vast observation window. Beyond it stretched an endless ocean of stars. For the first time in his life, he felt at peace. The questions that had haunted him since childhood had finally been answered. He knew who he was, he knew where he came from, and he knew why his mother had sacrificed everything to save him. Arcadia was gone, but its legacy lived on. Through him, days passed. The surviving systems of the star beacon slowly came back online. Ancient archives unlocked one after another. Thousands of years of lost knowledge revealed themselves. Jack spent hours exploring the records of his people. He learned about the Guardians, about the Source, about civilizations that had risen and fallen long before humanity had ever reached the stars. Then he discovered something unexpected. A sealed archive. One that had never been opened, not even by the Guardians. The file carried a warning. Access for the last heir. Only Jack hesitated, then activated it. The room darkened. A hologram appeared. An ancient figure emerged from the shadows. The being did not look human. Its eyes glowed like distant galaxies. Its voice echoed through the chamber. If you are watching this, then the Source has awakened. Jack listened carefully. The figure continued. The Shadow Empire was never the true threat. A chill ran through him. What do you mean? He whispered. The hologram answered. Beyond the edge of the known universe lies a civilization older than time. Images appeared around him. Gigantic structures larger than planets. Fleets numbering in the millions. Machines capable of extinguishing entire stars. They were the creators of the Source. Jack stared in disbelief. The architects. For thousands of years they have slept beyond the great void. The hologram paused. But one day they will return. The image shifted again. This time Jack saw entire galaxies burning. Worlds collapsing. Stars disappearing into darkness. Then came the final message. When the heir awakens, the architects will know. Jack's heart sank, because he suddenly remembered Morgoth's final transmission. The message sent before the Admiral's death. The message aimed far beyond known space. The message that revealed his existence. The hologram looked directly at him, and spoke its final words. They are already coming. The transmission ended. Darkness filled the room. 3 weeks later, far beyond every charted star system, far beyond every known galaxy, a signal crossed the endless void. It arrived at a place no living civilization had ever seen. A colossal structure drifted through the darkness. Its size was impossible to comprehend. It dwarfed planets, dwarfed stars, perhaps even entire solar systems. For thousands of years it had remained silent, dormant, waiting. Then a single light appeared. Moments later, another, and another. Across the structure, countless lights began awakening. Ancient engines rumbled to life. Deep within the darkness, enormous eyes opened. A voice echoed through the void. A voice older than history itself. The heir has been found. Thousands of other voices answered. We hear. The cycle begins again. The giant structure slowly turned, facing the Milky Way, facing Jack, facing the future. Back on the star beacon, Jack stood beside his ship. The stars reflected in the polished metal of its hull. A new journey awaited him. One far greater than revenge. One far greater than Arcadia. His communicator suddenly beeped. An unknown signal appeared on the screen. The source could not be identified. Jack opened the message. Only one sentence appeared. If you wish to save the galaxy, find us before they find you. Attached to the message was a set of coordinates. Coordinates leading into completely unexplored space. Jack smiled. Not because he felt safe. Not because he knew what awaited him. But because, for the first time, he finally understood his purpose. He stepped aboard his ship. The engines ignited. Stars stretched into brilliant lines of light. And moments later, the vessel vanished into hyperspace. Somewhere in the darkness, ancient powers were awakening. Old enemies were returning. And a new war was about to begin. But this time, the galaxy had a guardian.